a lot of the head role, the overall compliance with Irish Rugby, as well as leading up our strength program.
Bien, hoy por hoy Adam se está desempeñando como encargado de lo que es la parte de fuerza y acondicionamiento para Munster y encargado de lo que es la parte de ciencias del deporte. Trabaja también codo a codo con lo que es Dennis Logan, que probablemente muchos lo conocen porque ha tenido un paso por Argentina, año creo que 2009-2010, capacitando desde lo que era Athletics Performance en ese momento a la Unión Argentina de Rugby. Dennis hoy por hoy está trabajando como encargado de rendimiento de Munster, así que trabajan codo a codo para poder llevar adelante el plan y a su vez estar alineados con lo que propone la Unión Irlandesa.
So I suppose just a brief prelim of what this webinar will hope to achieve. I'm sorry if you hear some outside noise. The family and the kids are still up, so if that comes across, that's just part and parcel of the times at the moment. But I will be specifically focusing on repeated high intensity efforts, how I have come to use them over time from my experience of Catapult, and why I would advocate using repeated high intensity efforts within your training environment, whatever that may be.
Primero lo que está mencionado Adam es que si escucha algún ruido, algo por detrás, es la familia que está dando vuelta por ahí, tiene dos hijos chiquititos, así que les pide disculpas por eso, es la realidad que a todos nos toca pasar. Y después el objetivo de esa charla es contar cómo él utiliza los esfuerzos repetidos de alta intensidad desde que estaba en su momento con Catapult, hoy por hoy lo estaba utilizando Catapult, pero lo ha utilizado durante muchos años como una herramienta muy importante para poder llevar adelante los entrenamientos.
And so, just to get into it, Alejandro, if you want to flick on to the first slide, and we'll just get straight into repeated high intensity efforts in rugby union, which is my background, and I won't try and present that I know anything about different sports. My development has solely come in rugby union, and particularly my time at Munster has developed repeated high intensity efforts as a method of assessment at Munster Rugby.
Está comentando que toda su trayectoria laboral ha sido dentro del rugby, que desde hace muchos años se desempeña dentro de Munster Rugby y que lo que trata de hacer es darle un contexto para utilizar esta herramienta, no solo para entrenar, sino también como para evaluar el rendimiento de los deportistas.
So repeated high intensity efforts, you can see it on the slide here. These are defined as 3 high intensity efforts with less than 21 seconds set between the recovery between those efforts. And that was probably proposed in the original research by Gabbett. A lot of this happened with time motion analysis. But thankfully nowadays, software like Catapult can automatically pick up repeated high intensity efforts, and it gives people in our role, conditioning coaches and practitioners and sports scientists, a very easy and quick way to interpret and use repeated high intensity efforts.
Está comentando Adam que él saca esta definición de esfuerzo repetido de alta intensidad de lo que es los artículos de Gabbett, que Gabbett propone que son esfuerzos repetidos a una determinada tasa con menos de 21 segundos de pausa entre ellos, que sean 3 o más. Y a partir de esto, menciona que ha usado mucho lo que es el algoritmo propuesto por Catapult, ya que lo detecta de forma automática en base a un seteo, y eso permite contabilizar y monitorear la carga de trabajo usando esto como una herramienta.
And the reason why I suppose I started to look deeper into repeated high intensity efforts in the very beginning, almost 6 years ago now, when we first had Catapult, was this idea of how the 3 high intensity efforts of running efforts, acceleration efforts, and contact efforts join together to describe the game of rugby. And that was also then developed as another parameter as those 3 efforts combined being repeated high intensity efforts.
Y el por qué utiliza esto como un parámetro de cabecera es porque está compuesto por 3 acciones que suceden constantemente en el deporte, como por ejemplo las carreras, las aceleraciones y los contactos, y a partir de esto poder evaluar qué acontece dentro de lo que es el juego.
And so, as I described this to coaches when they ask the question of why these particular efforts, the way I would describe the game is that in rugby, in attack, you would run from where you receive the ball to the opponent's try line. So you have that running effort to start the action, and you have the acceleration events, either accelerating or decelerating to avoid possible contact from tackles or to change direction and evade other players. And then inevitably on the defensive side of it, you have contact elements for sure. And all of these really try to paint a picture of what the game is demanding of individuals as they play.
Entonces, muchas veces cuando él tiene que explicarle el por qué es importante este parámetro a los entrenadores, lo que hace es explicar que desde el punto de vista del ataque, lo que hace el jugador es correr. A partir de esto, probablemente tener capacidad de aceleraciones para tratar de avanzar y marcar puntos. Y desde el punto de vista defensivo, lo que tratan de hacer es acelerar y a su vez tener muchos contactos para poder detener al ataque. Y esto lo que hace es realizar una herramienta muy útil a la hora de entender qué está pasando en el partido.
And then I suppose the last bit of why I never really got to like repeated high intensity efforts is because unlike other methods of assessment, which I'll get into later in this presentation, but they give you an opportunity to look at the effort output rather than the accumulation of a value. And what I mean by that is if you were looking at meters per minute, those sum demands or the accumulation of demands come from the actual running efforts. So 100 meters of running might come from one running effort.
Entonces, lo que también usa como un porqué justificar la utilización de este tipo de parámetros es que te da realmente lo que acontece en cada secuencia de juego, cada pasaje de juego, y no un acumulado, sino que te va parcializando qué acontece en cada pasaje y a su vez relacionarlo con una actividad específica.
And so if you want to flick on to the next one, Alejandro, I'll just go into kind of some of the background research that's there already. So thankfully, from a research point of view, there is quite a lot of research out there now, specifically around repeated high intensity efforts. From the original research from Tim Gabbett and his work, which he's done probably the most extensive amount of work on repeated high intensity efforts, moving from time motion analysis to GPS analysis.
Hoy por hoy ya se empieza a encontrar gran cantidad de información acerca de lo que son los RHIE. Básicamente al principio empezó Gabbett haciendo análisis de estos desde el punto de vista del Time Motion Analysis para después ya pasarlo a integrar estos datos con lo que es el GPS.
And then more recently, some other nice research has come out from, say, like Anthony Kudarak in rugby sevens, Sean McLaren from Leeds Beckett University in Premier League rugby and rugby league in England, and Hoolan and Gabbett as well, looking at some of the Southern Hemisphere demand. So there's certainly starting to become a much more extensive look at repeated high intensity efforts across rugby union and rugby league as another reference point. But what a lot of that research tells us is what's kind of I've captured in these speech bubbles on the right-hand side, which you can use for yourself. And they're just kind of the synopsis of some of the main points of some of the papers that are listed on the left.
Hoy por hoy ya hay gran cantidad de información, yendo por ejemplo también lo que son los artículos de Anthony Kurderk y después pasando por McLaren, pasando de vuelta por Gabbett y lo que Johnston acerca de todo esto de la temática acerca del RHIE. Y una de las principales cosas que empiezan a hacer es tratar de determinar qué está pasando en cuanto al rendimiento deportivo, principalmente en deportes como el rugby y el rugby league.
And this is where I've kind of dipped my toe into research as well. I've started my own research recently in the last 18 months, and it is on repeated high intensity efforts as an area. But one of the real key reasons why I would have liked repeated high intensity efforts and where I'm leading my own research is what's brought up in the bottom speech bubble on the right hand side, this idea of it being able to characterize and identify the different effort demands based on position in terms of repeated high intensity efforts. So yes, we know and we understand that repeated high intensity efforts could possibly be important at a team level, but they also show some real sensitivity to outlining the positional demands and individual demands within positions when assessed under repeated high intensity effort demands?
Él hoy por hoy está haciendo todo lo que es la parte de investigación acerca de los RHIE por su cuenta. Está desde hace ya 18 meses investigando sobre este tema para tratar de caracterizar y darle un contexto a lo que es esfuerzos repetidos de alta intensidad y empezar a relacionarlo esto con respecto a lo que es las demandas del puesto y las características individuales de cada jugador.
And if you just want to move on then, Alejandro, to the next one. And if you just flick up, yeah, leave it at that. Flick that next one straight on. Yeah, so what I mean here is on the right-hand side is some of my own general descriptor demands of the game from a GPS standpoint. And on the left-hand side, some of the research done by Liam Kilduff in the English Premiership. And what these are showing is the general demands of the game. And these are, I would say, within the research now, these are really well established now at the moment. There is a lot of research out there that depicts or describes general game demands. But I hope what I'd hope to get to is how you move from the general into the very prescriptive and specific demands of the game.
Perfect. Adam, the blue one is Munster, the black one is Premiership.
Yes, yeah.
Perfecto. Acá lo que se estaba compartiendo Adam es los datos de demandas del juego que hoy por hoy están contabilizando. A la derecha van a encontrar los que son los datos de demandas de juego que está procesando él, y a la izquierda en negro están los datos de lo que es la Premiership inglesa, y con esto empezar a entender lo que son las demandas del juego en relación a diferentes posiciones que tiene el rugby.
And so yes, they're really well established, and they're quite easy to gather and to collate, so that you have an idea of what the game demands are, and that's really, really important. But this only helps build one side of the equation. This is the volume demand of a game. So it's made up of pockets of demand within a game, but this is the output of a typical game. And these are typically gathered across an entire season's worth of game or multiple seasons of games. So while they're very informative from a general standpoint, they don't really help us design training with intensity that matches the actual demand of a single specific game.
Como estábamos recién mencionando, estas son las comparaciones de dos ligas que hoy por hoy tienen investigación, y como verán, hay datos muy bien específicos que describen lo que acontece en el partido, pero esto no nos sirve para directamente decir cuál es el volumen apropiado de trabajo, ni tampoco entender las demandas individuales de cada jugador en cuanto a lo que refiere a lo que tiene que ser el entrenamiento.
So if you flick on to the next one, what I'll try to describe here is the dive down into these specific game demands. So we start at a game level, and then we work down into halves or quarters. Do you want me to answer that question that just popped up?
Yes, let me double check.
Just double back, and then I can answer that one.
Go here, leave it there, and wait. Screw it up, wait.
I'm happy to finish this first if you didn't want me to go back.
Yeah, let's finish this. Gente, sorry Adam, hagamos una cosa, aguardemos un cachito para las preguntas y lo hacemos al final. I told them to wait to the end to do the questions, Adam, so we can be more relaxed, okay?
Sure. I honestly don't mind answering them now, but if you want to, that's fine.
Let me see. No, let's finish this, because
okay.
if I touch this, perhaps I'm going to cut the recording. Okay.
No problem. So what I mean from the last slide, that game demand, you could use, and I'll try to bring in some of the questions that just came up there. You could use, let's say, high-speed running.
Por ejemplo, vemos en el partido que pasa en relación a lo que es la velocidad de alta intensidad.
And understand how that looks at a game level, so at the very top. But really what I would say in my mind is that you want to get down to the smallest aggregate level, which is possibly the passages of play. So as you move down from the game into a half or quarter analysis, that would give you a more concentrated view of the information. ball and play time, when you remove all the dead time, that's even more concentrated again. And then you get into passages. So that's where ball and play time could be coded by your video analysis guys. And ball and play time is even more concentrated because, and those passages are just now singular passages or multiple passages.
Entonces, lo que empieza a mostrar acá en esta pirámide invertida es que puede haber datos muy generales al principio cuando hablamos de lo que es el partido, después datos un poco más objetivos cuando pasamos a lo que es análisis por tiempo o por cuartos o periodos parcializados de cada tiempo, para después empezar a ver estos datos más reales en cuanto a lo que es el tiempo en el juego y empezar a darle más importancia a ciertas secuencias para luego prestar atención a las secuencias importantes y por último analizar realmente qué está pasando en los pasajes de mayor intensidad, por ejemplo, cuando están realizando los esfuerzos repetidos de alta intensidad.
And so then I would say from our journey of investigating some of the repeated high intensity efforts, what we began to look at then was when the opportunity was presented to a player with a really long passage, and there was definitely enough time in there to create a repeated high intensity effort bout. How did those bouts start to look, and what particular passages were we looking at? So that's where we got to this passages of significance. So we were starting to code these passages in greater than 50-second lengths of ball and play. So at that stage, you're taking out a lot of the ball and play passages, the 1-2 phase passages in rugby union, for example, and we were starting to really look deeply into what were the demands within those, and the next slide will showcase some of that.
Entonces, lo que trata de hacer es empezar a analizar esto, que en ciertas de juego realmente muy largas, lo que por ahí estaría en relación al concepto del peor escenario, siempre va a haber jugadores que están realizando estos esfuerzos repetidos de alta intensidad por una determinada cantidad de tiempo. Y esto empezar a darle una significación importante para poder relacionar con lo que acontece a lo largo del partido.
So if you want to flick on to the next one, Alejandro, we'll show a view.
Do you want to tell the audience
yes.
what are the parameters and what are the thresholds that you use?
Yes, sorry. I'm reading my one from English and I forgot.
No worries, no worries.
The repeated high intensity efforts, as I mentioned, are made up from 3 types of efforts. So the velocity efforts, we were looking at 4.4 meters per second. So slightly greater than the one that you have there, but 4.4 meters per second. Accelerations and deceleration events at 2 meters per second squared, and tackle bands of greater than 4G. So typically the next band starts at 5G. So you would start recording at 5Gs plus. I know that from my time frame, sorry, do you want to explain that?
Yes. Let me explain that and then you follow. Lo que está contando acá, que en base a esto de tener esfuerzos de carrera, esfuerzos de aceleración, desaceleración y esfuerzos de contacto, lo que hizo fue hallar diferentes umbrales. Estos umbrales son para lo que es la velocidad de carrera 4 metros por segundo, para lo que es aceleración y desaceleración, esfuerzos que sean mayores a 2 metros por segundo, y en base a lo que es el parámetro clásico de tackle, aquellos que están por encima de 4G.
I know from my time looking at it that IMA and jump bands were also possible in there. So people might ask that like tackles aren't really relative within my sport. You could certainly use other parameters within there. I had very limited use of IMA data, but from what I was using, I would say that you could certainly use that. The jumps data I had no research on. So if someone in the talk is using that within their specific sport, I'd imagine something, let's say like basketball, where jumps would be really pertinent, or possibly even soccer where headers would be pertinent, that the jump data might replace or complement your use of tackle bands or also.
Lo que menciona acá es que en los momentos que él estaba utilizando esto, tenía los dispositivos de ciertas características y no había comenzado usándolos con lo que es el IMA, que es uno de los parámetros que por hoy están disponibles para dispositivos Catapult. Esto hace que siempre recolectó los datos de esta manera. sabiendo que también para ciertos deportes puede ser muy importante incorporar este concepto de lima, como por ejemplo para básquet, agregar los saltos, para ciertos deportes como el fútbol, y en ciertas posiciones es muy importante el tema de la misma acción de saltos para cuantificar la carga de trabajo, y que probablemente está más en relación a lo que es la demanda de juego. Pero para el momento que él empezó a utilizar los RHIE, estas eran las herramientas que tenía disponibles.
So if you want to flick on to the next one then. So this is that same pyramid, the telescopic view of looking into the game. It's just been represented now on the Catapult console.
Esto debería ser un gráfico de cómo se ve la consola de Catapult, y a partir de la apertura de una actividad ves el esfuerzo repetido de alta intensidad, o sea, lo que es el RHE, esto que ven en azul.
So at the top, if you want to use the mouse, Alejandro, if you just want to start from the top at ERCC Toulouse, that is that game demand, the entire game activity. The next one down, that first half.
Sorry, vamos a ir de arriba hacia abajo. Lo que ven acá en verde que estoy marcando son las demandas del juego general del partido contra Toulouse. Lo que vemos acá en celeste es las demandas del juego del primer tiempo.
So just so people understand, we're obviously zoomed quite in now to the game. We're probably looking at only about 8 minutes of play in total. So the next level down then would be these ball and play passages, Munster's possession, opposition possession.
Y acá lo que vamos a ver es esta secuencia de juego en la cual aparece momentos de posesión para Munster y momentos de posesión para el contrario, lo que sería la pelota en juego.
And then if you come down to the next one would be these ball and play in significant moments. These would have been coded by our video analysis guys and imported as an XML into our GPS data. And this number 2 was this second significant moment within the game. Just this game as an example. And what we're seeing here is about 2 minutes of information. So roughly about 2 minutes of ball and play time. And then the repeated high intensity effort in blue being about a minute long with inside of that, either end of the passage starting and ending.
Entonces, lo que trata de mostrar acá, que justo coincide lo que el analista de video corta como momentos significativos del partido en relación a una secuencia de juego larga en la cual hubo varias transiciones de poseer la pelota a no tenerla, y encuentra que en esta secuencia de juego de casi 2 minutos encuentra un RHIE con estas características que justo coincide dentro de este momento significativo del juego.
And so within that then, the software allows you to look at the composition of the repeated high intensity effort for this individual. So this example is Rory Scannell. This is his velocity trace. And inside of that, we're looking at it's roughly exactly a 53-second bout. It has 9 efforts made up of 6 running velocity efforts, 2 accelerations, and 1 tackle, all occurring within this roughly 1 minute bout effort.
Entonces, lo que te permite por hoy la consola de Catapult es poder darle un significado, una significación mucho más acabada a este dato. ¿Por qué? Porque podemos ver que este esfuerzo fue realizado por este jugador, Rory Scannell, en el cual tuvo un esfuerzo repetido de alta intensidad que duró 53 segundos, contando con 9 esfuerzos dentro de lo que es el lapso de tiempo, para saber que 6 fueron en relación a lo que es la velocidad, 2 esfuerzos de aceleración y 1 de tackle.
And so obviously on the software as well, the real benefit of the visual aspect of Catapult's console software is that you can actually map all players playing at the same time to see what other types of repeated high intensity efforts are happening within this passage, not just one player, but all players. And then maybe ask the question with the video included, why are some longer, why are some shorter, who is demanded of what within the video.
Lo que te permite también el software de Catapult es no solamente verlo acá de a un jugador, sino también ver de a múltiples jugadores y empezar a comparar cuáles son los esfuerzos repetidos de alta intensidad de cada jugador y ver qué tienen dentro de cada esfuerzo repetido en cuanto a la composición del mismo. Por ejemplo, si tiene más acciones de correr, más aceleración o más de tackles.
So if you want to flick on to the next slide, that should play the video of a repeated high intensity effort passage.
Sorry, Adam, do you want to tell us which is the player that we need to follow?
Sure. So can you restart it for me and I'll talk through it now if that's okay.
Yes, of course.
So the player we're following is the player who makes that tackle in the corner. And you can follow over here in a second if you want. But at the moment, we're down to 14 men. So he's covering in the backfield as a fullback at the moment. So it's that guy on the left-hand side now in red. And he's chasing down that scrum half. He makes that big long run. He makes the tackle. He gets back up. And then he's going to follow again back into the defensive line. And this will be his highest repeated high-intensity effort from this game. I'll talk through it in a second because we have the Excel sheet also to display some of the info. But if you want to relay that, by all means, play the video again and relay
it. Sorry, Adam, share same number just to let the audience.
He's number 14, I believe. So he's just coming in now. He's just in the left-hand side of the picture now.
This one.
So if you imagine, he's a fullback. Yes, yes.
Okay, let me explain the audience and you start, okay? Gente, lo que está mostrando acá es un esfuerzo repetido de alta intensidad específico de un jugador. El jugador que hay que seguir es a este. ¿Se ve la manito ahí? Can you see my hand moving around the player, Adam?
Yes.
Perfect. El jugador que tiene que seguir es el que estoy marcando acá. Así que voy a darle play desde el inicio y después van a ver esta secuencia de lo que es una reorganización defensiva. Ahí viene a hacer una carrera. Situación de contacto, tackle. Para luego, por acá atrás, volver a hacer otra carrera.
Just, I don't know if do you want me to explain any further on that, or does anyone have questions? I've got one of the Q&A lives as well if you want me to answer that one.
Let me look for the Q&A block. Okay. Acá está, sorry, Adam. One of the guys is explaining what HSR means.
High-speed running,
yeah.
high-speed running absolute and high-speed running relative.
Yes, yes. Do you want to explain that now or later?
Sure, I can explain it now if you want to go back to that big chart again.
Yeah. Let me click here and let's use the blue one. Okay.
Yes.
From left to
left
right.
to right.
Okay.
So you would have these figures are for what we would have a typical game demand. So that there's substitutions included in some of these, so they can be quite low because they're averaged out in some positions. But you have distance. High-speed running absolute is at 5.5 meters per second. High-speed running relative, 55% of an individual's max velocity. Relative high-speed running percentage is their distance divided by the high-speed running figure. So that would be, for the example of the prop, 4497 divided by the 250. You say
Adam,
that, yeah.
Let me start again. Gente, para poder aclarar las dudas de esto, que está perfecto, acá vemos lo que es el promedio de distancia recorrida por cada posición y por cada grupo de posiciones. Y acá el promedio general del partido. Esto está también incluyendo los cambios, así que por eso ven algunos valores relativamente bajos. Después acá es lo que es, lo que es la velocidad relativa de carrera, de alta de carrera, perdón, en forma absoluta. Perdón, high speed running. Esto es lo que es la velocidad de alta carrera en forma absoluta. This is 5.5.
Yes, 5.5 meters per second for the absolute.
Esto es arriba de 5.5 metros por segundo, o sea que es la cantidad de distancia recorrida arriba de 5.5 metros por segundo. The second one?
55% of the individual's max velocity. So in this example, it's going to be averaged out over the two of them, but 55% of your distance of your max velocity.
Understood. Esta que es high speed running, o sea, lo que es la distancia en alta velocidad de carrera en forma relativa, que va a ser arriba del 55% de tu pico de velocidad. O sea que ya no va a ser en forma general 5.5 para todo el mundo, sino que va a estar en relación a la cantidad de metros recorridos a alta intensidad por arriba de tu 55% con respecto a tu test. Next one.
That's then your distance divided by your relative high speed running.
La distancia dividida lo que es la velocidad de carrera de alta intensidad. Next one.
HMLD, high metabolic load.
It's similar to metabolic load,
yes.
Metabolic power.
Yes, a combination of acceleration and the running distance. Yes.
Yeah. La otra es el HMLD, que está en relación a un parámetro que se conoce normalmente como potencia metabólica, que es en relación a la velocidad y a las aceleraciones.
And the last one is those high intensity efforts. So HIIT efforts, a combination of your running, acceleration, and collision efforts total.
This is an arbitrary unit, or what?
It's just a count. So if you happen to have, say, 55 running efforts, 60 acceleration, decelerations, and 18 contacts or whatever.
Perfecto. Y el último es la sumatoria de esfuerzos de alta intensidad, que cubre lo que es la parte de aceleraciones a partir de una determinada tasa, carreras y por último contactos. Esto es sumatoria de esfuerzos individuales. Por ejemplo, 55 vienen de la carrera, 35 vienen de contacto y el resto vienen de aceleraciones y desaceleraciones. Bien, ¿alguna duda más en cuanto a esto? I'm asking if they have any kind of questions related to the graph.
So if you just want to do the video bit and then just pull up, there should be a table comes up after it. Yep. So that we can look at this individual's just this bout within the game context. So the next chart that you'll see, this table, is going to show the raw information of what the video is versus the whole game for that individual.
Nosotros podemos empezar a analizar acá lo que es lo que pasa en esta secuencia de juego y comparado con lo que pasa en general con el partido.
So it should pop up here underneath if you tab forward. So just to outline there, what we're looking at is a very short passage of play, really, in relation to the whole game. So as a percentage of the game, it's only 2% of the time of the whole game.
Wait, acá lo que empieza a hacer es decir, bueno, ¿qué representó este esfuerzo en relación al total del partido? Esto representó un 2%.
But within this repeated high intensity effort bout, this player has managed to achieve 93% of their max velocity.
Y este jugador en este esfuerzo específico llegó a correr al 93% de su velocidad máxima.
Their absolute high speed running, 11% of their whole game has occurred within that bout.
Y ahí hizo el 11% de la velocidad de la distancia total de carrera a alta intensidad.
And then the velocity distance bands would be band 4, 5, 6, and 7 here as an example. And if we're looking specifically at the top end bands, obviously he has done a sprint to catch that player. But what we're seeing is that 26% or a quarter of the game's very high speed running has occurred within that band, and half of his entire sprinting distance has occurred within that one boat.
Y acá lo que empieza a detallar es qué está pasando con lo que es las bandas relativas en base a las velocidades. Entonces ven que en este esfuerzo hizo el 26% de alta intensidad con respecto a la banda 6 y el 52% de trabajo con respecto a la banda 7.
And it's pictures like this are what repeated high intensity efforts are really trying to capture. Particularly these ones, because these are possibly, in terms of some of the research on worst case scenario information, these are some of the worst case scenario bouts made up of a whole lot of different efforts that some of the individuals will be tasked with. And we can then look at that information from an effort standpoint, so the number of efforts, but also what the type of effort involved for each position. So a back three might have a lot of running, but a forward might have more contacts or acceleration. So it allows us to be more prescriptive around positions.
Entonces, lo que ve como relevante en esto, y también relacionado con el concepto de peor escenario, es que no solamente te permite ver qué cantidad de trabajo está haciendo también, sino empezar a ver qué está haciendo. Por ejemplo, puede pasar esto con un back que la mayor cantidad de distancia recorrida está en relación a la carrera, o la mayoría de acciones en esta secuencia está en relación a la carrera, y la mayor cantidad de acciones por ahí en el esfuerzo repetido de alta intensidad para un forward está en relación a lo que son las aceleraciones y los contactos.
And then if you want to flick on to the next one, that'll just be a research table of my own research paper on those same kind of ideas of what are the bouts, what are the efforts, what are the maximal bouts, what are the maximal efforts per position.
Y acá es una tabla de su propia autoría de la cantidad de esfuerzos repetidos de alta intensidad que tendrían por posición, cuántas acciones entrarían en cada esfuerzo, cuál es la cantidad total de acciones dentro de esto y cuál sería la cantidad, la cuarta, sorry, the third one is the number
So
of...
if you imagine on the left-hand side, the bouts, they're like averaged out across all games, across all props who played. But on the right-hand side, the top figure, the maximal one was were the figures presented here.
En una muestra lo que es el promedio y en otra muestra lo que es lo que sería el primer escenario, el máximo que encontró en un partido.
Yeah. So that's kind of like the research side of things, you know, it's very research kind of based, but what that means for discussion with players or with coaches is just synopsizing the data to make it relevant to the position. So when we think of the positional groups, there's some commonalities between the mini groups that are listed here, the front five, the middle five, and the back five.
Y entonces empezando a ver esto como hacen un dato importante para compartirlo con los entrenadores, empiezan a ver que hay factores en común que se suceden en mayor o en menor medida y que él trata de agruparlos en base a las posiciones en el campo. Esto daría como resultado juntar lo que es las primeras líneas y las segundas, terceras y los medios, y después los centros y tres del fondo.
And so one of the things added to this is this idea of static stress or isometric contractions or peak force coming from mauls or scrums within rugby union are not represented inside repeated high intensity efforts as they're currently designed.
Entonces,
but it's important to mention them.
Acá empieza a mencionar, por ejemplo, que hay esfuerzos, como por ejemplo los esfuerzos estáticos que se suceden en el rugby union y que no aparecen como esfuerzos repetidos de alta intensidad, pero es muy importante contabilizarlo como carga de trabajo.
So this provides you with a simple menu of exercises and running types or effort types that you can design conditioning programs to help players get better at particular areas. And it's based around their positional demand. So as an example, sorry, you can say that and then I'll get into the example.
Thank you. Entonces, lo que esta tabla nos permite hacer es empezar a contabilizar y a cuantificar mejor la carga de trabajo para las diferentes posiciones y con esto poder elaborar mejores drills de entrenamiento.
So as an example, then we would look at, say, the hooker position having some sort of scrummaging or maul activity involved. They would have quite a few efforts and their bouts are typically bigger than the props or the locks. But typically they'll also get you a lot more collisions when compared to a scrum half or an out half. So you could then tailor your conditioning to elicit that response for that positional type. And you might change it for the scrum half in a different way, having more running acceleration events, but less contact for him.
Por ejemplo, tomando como parámetro un hooker, vamos a ver que tiene muchas más, tiene gran cantidad de colisiones, pero probablemente menos comparado con otras poblaciones que pueden llegar a ser las segundas líneas y los pilares, pero va a encontrar muchas más acciones de carrera para comparar con estas posiciones, y si lo compara con un medio scrum, seguramente va a encontrar menos cantidad de colisiones para lo que es el medio scrum, pero el medio scrum con mucha más cantidad de acciones de carrera.
So if you want to flick on to the next slide, I'll just get onto some of my thoughts in practice, if that's the right way to explain it.
This one?
Yes, please. So this first one is kind of a mantra left by a former coach. So the 3 Ps of the program: players, the players that we have, how we develop those players to make them better. And this is not just physically. The plans that we have as a team, how our game plan is going to help us win games, and then physicality, how you can bring physicality to a game, but also the broader sense of physicality. Can we arrive to a game ready to play well?
Este gráfico que está a la izquierda de la pantalla está tomado como un legado de uno de los jugadores físicos que tuvieron en los últimos años en Munster, que es el concepto de las 3P. En realidad, por la traducción no quedan 3P, pero primero sería por jugadores, que sería players, en base a las necesidades individuales de cada jugador. Después, el segundo de lo que es el plan, en relación a lo que necesita el jugador hacer en el plan de juego. Y el tercero, en base a su physicality, que vendrá a ser la fisicalidad, o sea, la capacidad física o la capacidad de trabajo físico que tiene un jugador con respecto a una determinada necesidad.
And so the goal was that you would have to be on the field against another team. You would have to be 2 of the 3 Ps. You would either have to have better players and better plans, or you could have worse players, not technically as gifted, but you would have better plans for your players and better physicality. So you have to win on 2 of the 3 areas in every game you played.
Entonces, usando este mantra, este norte, lo que empiezan a tener como referencia cuando empiezan a relacionarlo con otros partidos es lo siguiente: para poder ser exitoso en el partido deberían tener 2 de estos 3 eslabones mejor que los rivales, o tengo que tener mejores jugadores y mejor plan para poder ganar, o estar con mejor capacidad física y a su vez mejor plan de juego si no cuento con buenos jugadores. O sea que siempre tengo que hacer que mi equipo predomine en 2 de los 3 aspectos estos del mantra.
And then just to elaborate on this then, so the challenge for an athletic performance team in this environment is that we have to physically make the players better. That's our primary job, to make them physically better.
Entonces,
but then we also have to make...
Sorry, Adam. Entonces el desafío del área de fuerza de acondicionamiento del equipo acá es tratar de generar jugadores con mejores capacidades físicas que el rival.
But also we have to make sure that physical development is matching the game plan. So you can't just be generally fit. If that was the case, like a Mo Farah runner could sub in at any place and take the place of one of the players. There has to be some recognition to the ability to play the game and be efficient within the structures of the team. So our conditioning has to try and develop the players to play the way we want to play as a team.
Entonces, esta preparación física, esta fuerza y acondicionamiento tiene que estar en relación a lo que es el plan de juego, porque por más que tengamos una persona muy bien preparada físicamente, traigamos un atleta, lo metemos en el equipo y no va a rendir lo suficiente. ¿Por qué? Porque no está preparado en relación a lo que quiere jugar el equipo y que haga mejor su función dentro del esquema.
And then the last bit, with the physicality bit, in the beginning, that was meant as your abrasiveness or your hardness into contact. That's the first level of it. But what it meant on a broader sense for the athletic performance team was that we had to structure training because we have a long season so that every week we would turn up ready with enough energy to play the game with physicality, that we would be able to survive a long season, but also turn up and be capable of playing game after game after game for 32, 33 weeks of the season.
Entonces, volviendo un poco al concepto este de la fisicalidad o la capacidad física, al principio lo tomaban en cuenta como algo en relación a la agresividad, a la capacidad de contacto y también de generar grandes situaciones de colisión. Después, con el tiempo, se empezaba a dar cuenta que era mucho más abarcativo y que llevaba a generar una persona mucho más integralmente preparada para poder sobrevivir a lo que es un año entero, que esté disponible para muchos entrenamientos, muchos partidos y que pueda jugar muchos partidos de estos 32 o 33 que tiene en el año.
And then this piece on the three kind of streams of conditioning that we would use. So this aerobic, anaerobic capacity and anaerobic power are just three of the general buckets I would use to categorize players. And if you flick on to the next one, then when you're after explaining that, Alan. Yeah, if you want to explain what I just said, I can go into deeper then into this bit.
Perfecto. Y a partir de todos estos conceptos, lo que tratan de hacer es generar tres nichos bien marcados en cuanto a qué se precisa desde lo aeróbico, después qué se precisa trabajar para lo que es la capacidad aeróbica y qué se precisa trabajar para lo que es la potencia aeróbica.
So specifically around repeated high intensity efforts then, our a player's aerobic ability, when we assess them, we would look at that as their ability to recover between bouts. Their anaerobic capacity, sorry, do you want to go one by one?
Yes, please.
Yeah, no problem.
Entonces, desde el punto de vista aeróbico, lo que tratan de hacer con relación a las esfuerzos repetidos de alta intensidad es ver la capacidad que tiene la persona para recuperarse entre esfuerzos.
Their anaerobic capacity then was their ability to sustain bouts. So they might not get huge amount of efforts within that bout, but they would elongate the length of the bout out so they could survive within those longer passages better.
Entonces, el segundo nicho, lo que sería la capacidad aeróbica, es la habilidad que tiene la persona para sostener los esfuerzos. Tratar de sostenerlo la mayor cantidad posible de tiempo.
And the last bit then would be their ability to maximally output within a particular block. So they might be a 1 minute passage like we saw a while ago, 1 minute of a repeated high intensity effort bout, but they managed to get more effort into that passage. And hopefully then the main goal is that transfers into a positive impact on the play.
Y el tercero, relacionado con la potencia anaeróbica, está en relación a la máxima capacidad que tiene la persona para, por ejemplo, como en la secuencia que vimos, durante 1 minuto, tratar de generar esfuerzos los más que sean lo más intensos posibles en cada vez que él precisa hacerlos.
And so how we'd attack those things then is with the aerobic ones, we might predominantly have them running based and blocked. So we would train and then do conditioning at the back end. That would be running based. That would be a really good way to target the aerobic system. Typically, we're talking about aerobic power or aerobic capacity also within here, but just a general term, this is how we would do it. We would block it into training. We would train and then condition, then maybe train again and condition again.
El primero, de ahí con relación a lo aeróbico, los predominantemente de carrera, sugiere hacerlos en bloque y que predomine, como su nombre lo indica, que haya muchas acciones de carrera.
The mixed effort demand, then what that means is we would look at having, instead of just running as the primary way, we would look at having wrestle contests into running, repeated change of direction events, so a shortened distance for acceleration and deceleration into running events. So you would mix those up, and because that's much more taxing than just the running alone, then they would be integrated within a skills component of the rugby. Skills, small set of conditioning, back to skills, small set of conditioning, back to skills, and integrate it much more that way.
Sorry, Adam, do you mean that they're going to be in the same block, both things, or what you're going to be doing one thing and then the other?
Yeah, you might do the conditioning, which might be, say, for example, a wrestle, a 50-meter run, 4 change of direction efforts over the 2 10-meter lines,
tackles,
then tackles, then back into a run. Take your rest from that, and then head into a skills block. Then take a rest from the skills block and come back in.
Understood. Entonces, lo que propone el integrado es, por ejemplo, hacer una serie de esfuerzos repetidos de alta intensidad, en lo cual ya deja de tener como predominancia la carrera, sino que hace algo de carrera, la pequeña pausa, algo de ejercicio de contacto, como por ejemplo algo de lucha, algo de cambio de dirección, para volver a hacer ejercicios de tackle, y así hasta que termine el bloque de RHE, pequeña pausa, y después hacen algo directamente ya relacionado con el rugby en cuanto a destrezas.
And the last bit then, as I mentioned in the research bit, the composition of a repeated high intensity effort, the biggest determining factor of why rugby is very different to a lot of other sports is this element of contact that's involved in it. It's a very, very high intensity effort action. So the tackling component we typically put with smaller bouts because it's so fatiguing. So we do that as breakouts from training. So we might have long passages in training, and contact is also risky by its nature, but we might have breakout elements then where the contact can be controlled a little bit better, and saturate the contact that way. And it allows us to have mini breakouts within rugby training so that they can come out and achieve a numerous amount of contact efforts and go back into a rugby passage again.
And could you explain again, because it was a little choppy, the last one?
Excuse me.
Sorry, the contact one.
The contact one is probably the biggest determinant on the game. It's incredibly fatiguing, the contact.
Sorry, I have some kind of noise in my line, so I'm going to translate phrase by phrase, Adam. Entonces, el último está mucho más relacionado a lo que pasa en el juego realmente. Go on, please.
So we tend to concentrate that contact element within our training as a breakout from training. So,
entonces, lo que trata de hacer es, a partir de lo que pasa en un entrenamiento, empezar a hacer pequeños bloques.
So how that looks is there might be a long passage of attack or defense happening within training, and then we would break out from training in mini groups, have a saturated amount of contact, so maybe 8 to 10 efforts of contact, and then head back into a passage of training again.
Entonces, lo que usan como modelo es lo siguiente: puede hacer una secuencia de juego muy larga para después armar un bloque bien específico solamente de contacto para después volver a lo que es esta secuencia de juego bien larga.
So if you that's it for that on that slide, Alejandro. But on the next one, I'll give it probably. So sorry, I'll have to comment on this. Apologies, I'll come back.
This one.
Go back to that purple one, please, because it's just a comment that I'd have in general. So it's important that we know that not always the most physically capable players are the best players.
Sabemos que muchas veces los jugadores con gran capacidad física no siempre son los mejores jugadores.
And my own kind of rationale for that is because sometimes the game knowledge, the context of the sport, enables efficiency within the game that allow those players to be the best players sometimes without the physical capacity of some of your fittest players.
Entonces, esta capacidad que tienen los jugadores de conocer el juego y reconocer lo que está pasando en el contexto es lo que los hace muy buenos jugadores y mejores jugadores a pesar de no ser los más dotados físicamente.
So it's this efficiency reduces the cost of the actual game on those passages. They're able to respond to them better, and this decreased cost allows them to really have a maximal output that's possibly better than just a fit player who's bleeding energy through inefficient action. The efficient player is able to respond better in there. Now, sorry, I'll leave you say that.
Thank you. Lo que también menciona que muchas veces esta eficiencia lo ayuda al jugador a ser mucho más económico en cuanto al juego. Y probablemente no es tan vistoso, pero sí es mucho más efectivo. Y algunos jugadores tienen una gran capacidad física, se desangran haciendo acciones que no son eficientes. En cambio, cuando estos jugadores entran en acción al conocer muy bien el juego, son mucho más eficaces en el momento de hacer algún tipo de acción o toma de decisiones.
So if you want to flick on to the next one, I suppose I just get into some more detail around the prescription of some of that training, and particularly at the moment, this with our players being away, this is some of the kind of themes of the weeks that we've gone through, from aerobic development, anaerobic capacity development, anaerobic power.
Y acá vamos a mostrar una estructura en base a lo que están trabajando ellos constantemente y es algo que también están trabajando ahora en estos momentos de encierro, de cuarentena, y va a explicar cómo son estos bloques de trabajo.
And what I would say to people, I went and saw Martin Buchheit and Paul Larson develop on the Hit Science book. I found that very helpful. They do a much better job than me explaining some of the conditioning, but they have a really good resource for developing conditioning strategies.
Ahí él se basó en lo que es el libro de Boucher Larson para armar esto como una tabla desde el punto de vista didáctica y si quieren pueden usar esa bibliografía como referencia para tener más información.
And I would, these three streams again are kind of just the three general buckets of conditioning streams at Munster. So the river of conditioning is kind of filled with these three streams, and then speed is developed as a separate entity in our speed tech movement prep sessions and in our drilling on the field and unit sessions. Speed is kind of a standalone separate concept that we would attack differently.
Esto viene a ser todo lo que es la parte de entrenamiento de acondicionamiento. Acá están las diferentes actividades que van haciendo y también menciona que lo que es la parte propiamente de velocidad lo hacen como una sesión totalmente aislada, no está dentro de este concepto.
So I hope that's kind of self-explanatory as itself. So the penultimate slide, this last one here, just before the Q&A, if needed, this is my development over time. So I kind of constantly have to come back to this, and because it's a season, if you want to flick onto the last one. So what I'm saying here is because it's a season, it kind of allows us to naturally have like a review phase at the end of every year. And this has kind of been the stage that I follow in my development over the course of multiple years.
Entonces, lo que le permite seguir este sistema de trabajo es poder analizar al final de cada uno de estos años cómo va evolucionando y lo va tratando de hacer desde hace ya varios años para tratar de mejorarlo y pulirlo y que sea más eficiente en el momento de utilizarlo.
And one of the things that I would kind of say, while I'm speaking specifically about repeated high intensity efforts here, game intensity can be found in many different ways.
Por ejemplo, sobre Adam, la intensidad del juego puede ser encontrada en varias formas.
But one important consideration to keep in mind is that your method of capture, how you decide to investigate intensity, is going to have a big output on how you then try to translate that into your training.
Y acá lo importante es ver cómo obtenemos este dato de intensidad, porque a partir de que obtenemos el dato de intensidad va a ser la forma en la cual podemos transferir esto a la intensidad de nuestro entrenamiento.
And it's important within that then that you have an understanding of the audience that you're dealing with. I've dealt with 4 different head coaches at Munster Rugby in my time, and each one of them views the game slightly differently. So go for
Sorry,
that.
como pasa con muchos de los que están seguramente en la audiencia, en los últimos años ha estado con 4 coaches diferentes dentro de la estructura de Munster y ha encontrado que cada uno de ellos tiene una filosofía diferente.
So when you're thinking about giving feedback, it's important that you marry that feedback with the ideas and the thought processes of the coach who's looking at the game also. So that if you're responding back with repeated high intensity efforts, your coach is probably looking at passages and saying, how do we get better within those passages?
Y acá lo que hay que tratar de empezar a ver es cómo hacemos para que lo que ve el entrenador y lo que haces vos sea de la misma manera y poder empezar a unar esfuerzos para mejorar el entrenamiento día a día.
But from my experience, other coaches might like greater running demands. So that's where you might start to use a different avenue, might be looking at per minute demands of the game from a running or a high-speed running or an acceleration standpoint to answer the questions that they have about the game from that context.
Entonces, ahí empiezan los análisis de si analizo la cantidad de metros recorridos, la cantidad de metros recorridos de alta intensidad por minuto, la cantidad de aceleraciones y desaceleraciones que también hago a lo largo del partido o por minuto, y empezar a relacionarlo esto con lo que acontece a lo largo de todo el partido.
But I suppose the reason why I'm probably presenting on repeated high intensity efforts is because I feel it's a base level of granularity that you can build up from in intensity of the game. It really gives you a good insight into the bout demands placed upon players in different positions.
Esto da la razón por la cual él trata siempre de estar hablando alrededor de esta temática, porque la haya como una piedra fundamental en relación a lo que es el desarrollo del jugador y ponerlo en contexto con lo que pasa en el partido. También teniendo en cuenta las diferentes posiciones de los jugadores, ¿no?
So the last slide is just the Q&A, Alejandro. I'm more than happy to answer some questions now. I have one in the Q&A that's in Spanish, so I can't translate it.
No worries. I help you. Gente, ahora sí, preguntas. Déjenme un cachito que minimizo esto. Dejo de compartir y ahora empiezo con las preguntas. Mil gracias. One of the questions, Adam, is how do you set up an RHA session, and how many sessions per week of this kind of efforts?
So the first thing I would say is, before you go setting up sessions, it would be important first to understand what's coming from your training before you add anything further in.
Ok, entonces lo primero que trato de hacer es tratar de ver qué es lo que está pasando en los entrenamientos y a partir de ahí construir algo.
And then I suppose if you were able to look at your game as a whole and understand what the demands are from the game in comparison to what's happening in your training, then you could deal with individuals if there are outliers, or you could get it into a whole team context where you might follow some of the rules that I just showed there of a breakout or a proportion of training, maybe a middle point of training, transitioning from one type of training to another type. So for us, maybe a middle point between attack and defense, you might have a block in there for physical development.
Entonces, a partir de ahí empezar a ver si esto va a ser individual o general, y a partir de esta sección, si va a ser individual o general, empezar a relacionar con el objetivo del entrenamiento, como por ejemplo, integrarlo en un día en el cual hay un bloque de entrenamiento de ataque o defensa, y en el medio metes un bloque de esfuerzo repetido de alta intensidad, lo que podría llegar a ser una mezcla de métodos.
There's a question on the...
How often during the week? How many times per week?
If you were for putting a block in.
Yes, one of the questions is asking if you do repeated high intensity efforts, how many times per week?
I would say probably just keep them to one time a week. So if I speak from a rugby example, our repeated high intensity effort training would typically happen on our Tuesday. So we're already after passing the game from the previous weekend and we're getting ready for the next game. So we could have long passages within training on Tuesday that will have repeated high intensity efforts happening within the sport. But then on top of that, we would also have breakout elements within that are geared towards physical development of those players, specifically around lots of efforts very quickly, which are repeated high intensity efforts.
Básicamente lo que propone es que se pueda hacer una vez por semana, por ejemplo los martes, en los cuales replicarían los pasajes más duros del partido, y esto tratar de meterlo en contexto con lo que pasa con el resto del entrenamiento.
The question up here from Pablo Guzman.
Yes, that was the first one about what means high speed running. That was answered before.
Oh, sorry, no, he has another one here, I think, from Pablo is on, I want to know if this repeated high intensity efforts correlate with the outcome of the game.
Okay. No, I was looking for the one on the chat channel. And
these are in the Q&A section, so yes, I don't know if these are just for me.
Yes, let me finish 2 or 3 on the chat side,
sure,
and then I jump to the Q&A. Okay.
Sorry. Perfect. Sorry.
Let me finish 2 more. One of the guys is asking is that so you consider that repeating high intensity efforts includes not just running, includes contacts, collisions, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so you can set it up within the software that it would include running, acceleration, or change of direction events, not just acceleration or deceleration. If you used IMA, you would get, my research on the IMA was quite limited, but I found it useful to look at the point of change of direction, but you could stick to acceleration as a method. The contact for sure, but also jumps, as I alluded to. So you would possibly capture a wide spectrum of effort demands within the game. Within rugby union, the one caveat to that would be that events like mauls, scrums, I don't know if they're included in, once you have the scrum algorithm, can you include it into your repeated high intensity efforts? They're assessed in different manner, I do believe.
Acá lo que plantea Adam, que sí, que hay gran cantidad de esfuerzos fuera de lo que es solamente los de carrera. Diego, probablemente en lo que es otras disciplinas está mucho más presente lo que es el correr, pero en rugby también se incluye todo lo que es la parte de contactos, cambio de dirección, saltos, como por ejemplo utilizar el IMA. Y estaba mencionando también que no sabe si se podría utilizar ahora también lo que es el nuevo parámetro de mensurar scrums para meterlos dentro de lo que es el esfuerzo repetitivo de alta intensidad. Next one. One of the questions from Marcelo Martinez is, you know that we are in a rugby amateur environment in Argentina.
Yeah.
For your point of view and from your knowledge, what kind of structure do you suggest to put in a weekly planning? Adam, sorry, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday.
Yes.
That's the current week structure in Argentina.
Same as ourselves, yeah. So within that sense, then what I would say is that repeated high intensity efforts will probably turn up in your training on all your training days in some form.
Sorry. Él menciona que este concepto de esfuerzo repetido de alta intensidad lo puedes incorporar en cualquier día de entrenamiento de alguna manera.
And even if, like, obviously on this you would like to have GPS information there, but you could take it that what you're really trying to do is you're trying to identify long passages of play and put those long passages into your training because they'll have a big outcome on a game result. Catapult and GPS technology only helps you to really see deeper through the fog of that and understand what makes up those long passages.
Entonces, lo que plantea es empezar a identificar mucho mejor a partir del uso de la tecnología de GPS de estos pasajes de partido bien largos y empezar no solamente a ver que son pasajes de partido muy largos, sino empezar también a reconocer qué hay dentro de estos pasajes para poder darle un contexto a esta duración del mismo. Next one. Is during a high intensity effort session, do you put some kind of goal for each player about a number of repeated high intensity efforts?
So yes, no in a session per se. The idea would be that each position will naturally have differences in there. So if you said to the coach, I need you to keep this passage alive for 2.5 minutes, you will see naturally some differences between position.
Sorry. Entonces, lo que propone es que lo que trata de hacer es empezar a generar drills en los cuales él sabe que a partir de determinada duración y una determinada intensidad van a aparecer naturalmente estas acciones específicas por puestos para ser cubiertas a lo largo de la duración del bloque.
But we have gone down the route of creating repeated high intensity effort sessions. So if I just quickly share my screen here, and let me know if you can see this.
Yes, we can.
So this one here on the right-hand side, this is a specific repeated high-intensity effort session. So what we're providing 3 22-meter runs, here, and here. And then...
sorry, let me explain.
Sorry.
Lo que hace acá es en la pantalla de la derecha... Perdón, en la imagen de la derecha muestra lo que sería el trazo del GPS y acá a la izquierda está lo que es cada uno de los bloques. Acá lo que muestra es 3 carreras hasta la línea de 22 y de vuelta.
So what you will see in this then is that everybody does this like shuttle over the 22 and back. So you can see these running efforts running up to the 22, running back from the 22 up to the 22, running back 3 times. But what we're looking for is, there's also 3 repeated high intensity effort bouts happening within here. And what we want to see if players can connect efforts. So they're given 3 opportunities, but can they have longer efforts or can they sustain longer bouts? So this person, as an example, this person has gotten all the repeated high intensity efforts that we asked of them. This first guy, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 9 bouts.
Adam, to understand and then explain to the audience. The first one is more related about some kind of explosive movement, and then the other one more related about shuttle runs.
Yes, but even a shuttle run in this example will create a repeated high intensity effort bout.
Yeah, perfect.
The only difference will be is that it will only have running and acceleration in there.
Perfect. Yeah, understood. And the first one is more related with
the first one. Yes, it would be an acceleration, a contact, a change of direction, an acceleration again.
Perfect.
As an example.
Understood. Entonces, perdón chicos, que me tomé un tiempo para entender el drill, porque a veces ver la gráfica se hace bastante difícil para traducir. Lo que muestra acá es unos bloques de trabajo que al principio, estos 3 que ven en modo chiquitito, vendría a ser drills de contacto, cambio de dirección y agilidad, para después pasar al medio. Estos 3 que ven juntos, con una pequeña pausa, están en relación a carreras, idas y vueltas 3 veces seguidas hasta las 22, para después hacer una pausa de vuelta, y después de vuelta hacer este drill que incluye contactos, cambio de dirección, aceleración, desaceleración, y drills por ahí más neuromusculares. Y lo que marca acá que hay algunos jugadores que solamente pudieron completar todos los esfuerzos como habían sido mencionados. No todos completaron los 9 esfuerzos de esfuerzos repetidos de alta intensidad como habían sido pedidos. ¿Por qué? Porque el bloque de esfuerzos repetidos de alta intensidad está en azul.
And so just to draw your attention to then, this player, the top line, this player has achieved all 9 bouts that were set out for him. But comparing that to, say, this player who is starting, yes, he's gotten the first 3 and then the next 3 also, but they're getting progressively smaller. So he's getting less time for the bout, but then he misses the last 2. So this would possibly be the idea of fatigue or capacity.
Entonces, acá comparando el primero con el cuarto, vemos que probablemente el primero hizo todo como correspondía, viendo la duración e intensidad en base a lo sugerido y a lo pedido por el preparador físico, y en el cuarto vemos que de a poco el esfuerzo repetido de intensidad cada vez es menor, también mermando su intensidad, y vemos que al final ya no puede sostener. ¿Por qué? Porque lo hace, pero no a la intensidad para ser incluido como un esfuerzo repetido de alta intensidad.
And I suppose just to mention it, this is like early preseason when the athletic performance team have a lot of time. So this will take a little bit of time because you're allowing them recovery between bouts. But if you were doing it within training in season, you might just capture the one of these bouts with one of these runs in the beginning and see who got the most amount of efforts in, because you wouldn't have the same amount of time to physically develop them. The rugby coaching team are trying to technically and tactically develop them.
Sorry, Adam. Este es un clásico ejemplo probablemente de lo que es la etapa de preparación de pretemporada, que en el cual el grupo de preparadores físicos tiene mucho tiempo. Probablemente durante el año lo que hay que hacer es acomodar mucho más a la realidad de lo que es la sesión de entrenamiento, estos esfuerzos repetidos de alta intensidad, porque tienen que estar en relación a lo que precisa el entrenador y tienen que ser mucho más específicos. Let me take a look to the next question. Sorry, Adam.
Yeah.
I think 3 more. This is okay. One of the guys is asking if you use some kind of monitoring control load before training, like squat jumps or wellness or RPE or something like that.
Yes, we would have wellness information on the morning of every training day. And we would CMJ once the early part of our training day at the first training day of the week. So on a Monday, we would have CMJ and jump data, as well as wellness data.
Sorry, los lunes ellos tendrían lo que es el dato de sí, primero la respuesta es sí, y después lo que hacen es tener datos en base a la parte de salto los lunes y después testeo de wellness todos los días. One more. One of the S&C coaches from Uruguay is asking if you use currently the percentage of max speed for all bands or just for this relative high speed running zone.
No, we have dual bands in operation now, so we would have absolute and relative. Based on my own research, in hindsight, I would probably have said that relative bands are better for identifying individual trends, but the absolute bands give you a better benchmark for developing a player maximally.
Lo que plantea acá Diego es que usa ambas y probablemente lo que hace es la relativa es para monitorear más en forma relativa del jugador, algo más específico, y la otra para tratar de hacerlo subir de nivel al jugador comparado con el resto. Next one is the logic organization of the drills are related with some kind of specific pattern, or you create it in a different way?
And from the example I showed.
Yes, from the example of repeated high intensity high intensity effort. For example, you use a specific organization, like for example, if you are doing something blend, one run, then one
Yes,
contact, one run, one
yeah.
contact?
Yes. So I would say I showed 3 subgroups. So like front five, middle five, back five. I would then blend those that have more contacts for the front five, short acceleration and change of direction events, and maybe only one run to begin it. So one run, contact, acceleration, versus the back three, which might have run, acceleration, contact, acceleration, run, because that's how their bout composition would be designed.
Perfecto. Tano, ahí por ahí doy un ejemplo muy del rugby, por ahí para fútbol es diferente, pero sí está relacionado a lo que es el puesto y lo que busca ahí hacer es alternar lo que predomina en cuanto a la posición. Si por ejemplo es un tipo que precisa muchas colisiones, mete colisiones, carreras, colisiones, carreras, colisiones, carreras, o si tiene algo más desde el punto de vista que predomina la carrera es aceleración, carrera, colisión, aceleración, carrera, colisión, para no tener tanto un patrón que no es tan significativo para la demanda de juego.
That's something, Alejandro, that I don't. So that's something I'm looking to publish from a research side for part of my own personal research. But it's on the actual total high intensity efforts, not just repeated high intensity efforts. So it would be the relative percentage of running, acceleration, and collision events for players across a game and a team. So not just repeated high intensity efforts, but like how many efforts in total do they do?
Acá va empezando a mencionar que también va a depender de lo que es el contexto en relación a lo relativo a lo absoluto. Para ir terminando, pues ya vamos casi 1 hora y media. Disculpen que no los quiero cortar, ni mucho menos. Let's do last question,
Sure.
Adam, and I'll let you know because it's going to be 90 minutes in front of the laptop. So the last one, how do you are dealing nowadays with the contact situation with this lockdown period?
Poorly.
Sorry, Adam. I'm going to ask the question, to translate the question to the audience. Le pregunté cómo están lidiando ahora ellos, cómo están sobrellevando esto de meter la situación de contacto en esta situación de cuarentena. Go, Adam, if you want.
Yeah, sure. So, how are we managing it at the moment? Poorly is the example. Quite poorly, I would say.
Muy poco sería la respuesta.
So, just to give a context of it, what we've done for the last, so we've sent out a 4-week block of conditioning.
Sorry, let me explain. Enviaron lo que es un bloque de preparación física por semanas, de 4 semanas.
Yeah, and so the idea of that was to say we're going to develop across the week. So we've had 2 4-week blocks. So we focused on the aerobic running in the first 3 weeks. Then we focused on efforts. So that they will be running and change of direction efforts in the next 3 weeks. And then for the last 2 weeks, we're currently just about to start that next week. So that will bring us to 8 weeks in total, would be what we're terming our deck fitness, our precursor to contact fitness. So we've brought in a lot of down up, multi-deck to run to change of direction efforts. And we've also brought in a burpee test just to kind of test that. That's how it's gone. So 3 weeks of kind of an aerobic base of predominantly running. Then a 3-week development of shorter distances, more effort, acceleration and deceleration, and then a 2-week block of deck fitness as a precursor to contact. What we're hoping, sorry, I'll let you explain that.
No worries. Básicamente lo que planificamos es 8 semanas de entrenamiento, en las cuales las 3 primeras predominaban lo que era el correr, para lo que es el desarrollo de la aptitud aeróbica. Las 3 semanas siguientes predominaba lo que era el correr a mayor intensidad con mayor cantidad de frenos y arranques, como si fueran carreras de idas y vueltas. Y en estas 2 que van a empezar ahora, predominaba mucho más lo que es las situaciones de pararse, ir al piso, hacer diferentes tipos de movimientos. What kind of movement are you including for the next 2 weeks to prepare the boys for what's going to do next?
So yeah, we still have to figure out what we're going to be allowed to do next is the big thing.
Sorry, lo que me pregunté es qué tipo de movimientos, porque queda bien claro que las 3 primeras sean de correr, las otras 3 más de ir y volver a mayor intensidad con aceleración, desaceleración, y ahora vienen estas de mayor carga física parecida a lo que sería el contacto. Y le pregunté qué incluiría eso.
So for the plan for the second phase was we started to increase the exposure of max accelerations and max velocity exposures 2 times a week. So they are part of the running. Inside the running then, so max velocity was targeted, and then inside the running, we focused on multi-effort shorter distances running. So what that would look like would be something like a repeated 30-second effort over the 22 for as many reps as they could.
Ok, let me explain that. Lo que tratan de hacer es empezar a aumentar, por ejemplo, lo que es la cantidad de velocidad máxima y a su vez también la cantidad de aceleraciones que tienen. Como puede ya ser un ejemplo desde el punto de vista práctico, ir y volver hasta las 22 en 30 segundos la mayor cantidad de veces posible.
So how that might look, one of the sessions that we've outlined, so one of the sessions that we have at the moment for Monday of this week, so they would have ran a black hole test, which is that out and back over the 22 for 30 seconds with 60 seconds off, so 90 seconds per rep.
Lo que van a hacer ahora es trabajos de 90 segundos en los cuales son 30 segundos de pausa, 30 segundos de esfuerzo por 60 de pausa, 3 veces hasta las 22. Después carreras hasta runs up to which line?
Sorry, I'll just show it here. It's easier if I just show you.
Okay, thank you. Ahora lo vamos a mostrar.
I was saying I'm trying to talk and then I'm trying to read at the same time and I can't see it.
You need Google?
So
No.
yeah. So this one here that you see, this was the running session for Monday of this week. So it's this mixed run and effort conditioning. This is the black hole test. So 30 seconds of work, 3 times. They're targeting 6 22-meter shuttles in that time.
Eso sería el bloque que se llama black hole, una repetición de 30 segundos de trabajo por 60 de pausa.
A 22-meter return, 4 reps, so that goes from the 5-meter line.
Eso arrancarían desde las 5 hasta las 22 en 20
so
segundos.
5-meter line, back pedal to the try line, down up, run as hard as you can to the 22 and turn, and you do that every 20 seconds. So you have about 6 seconds to get that work done, and then 14 seconds to get back to the 5-meter line, and you repeat that 4 times.
Eso lo hacen seriado, yendo y viniendo hasta las 22, siempre de las 5, y cuando llegan tienen que ir al piso y pararse. Eso cada 20 segundos van saliendo.
And then 3 double 50s, so out to the 50-meter and back, following your positional distance.
Ahí van a ir desde su posición en relación a la posición del juego, van a ser en las 5, después en la posición los 5 del medio, después los 5 de atrás van a ir hasta 65 metros y van a hacer en esta secuencia de tiempo.
And then finish with 10 burpees just on the line. So just down to the deck and back up, down to the deck and back up 10 times.
Después termina con 10 burpees.
And then finishes on 5 minutes. You take 3 minutes off, you do 3 sets. The clock runs 0, 9, and 18 minutes.
Y lo que hacen esto es 3 series y con 3 minutos de pausa entre medio.
So they would complete that conditioning session. So each individual would do their conditioning session. Monday they'd have their speed prep for acceleration. So they would go through an acceleration warm-up, some plyometrics, and then acceleration.
Haría aceleración los lunes. And which day they do this?
So the acceleration happens on Monday with that conditioning. There's speed on Thursday with another conditioning session, and then a conditioning session on Friday also. So Monday, Thursday, Friday for this week, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday for next week, and then we're into the deck fitness the week after. There's skills and stuff happening as well. So there's 4 gym sessions, 4 skill sessions, 3 on-feet conditioning sessions, and 1 off-feet conditioning session.
Lo que tienes 4 sesiones de gimnasio, 4 sesiones de destrezas, 3 de acondicionamiento de pie y una extra. Y normalmente es lunes, jueves y viernes. Y el lunes sería más en relación a aceleración, el jueves más en relación a lo que es la parte de velocidad máxima. Adam, enough. Thanks for your time. As usual, this is really interesting. You know that we are really passionate about repeating high intensity efforts and we try to adapt it to our reality. Estoy agradeciendo, estoy diciendo que realmente es un tema que nos apasiona a todos, que tratamos de adaptarlo a nuestra realidad. Also, we want to say that this is really useful for us, and it's a pleasure having you here with us.
You're
Estoy
welcome.
agradeciendo y que realmente es una herramienta muy útil para todos nosotros. Adam, thanks a lot. Same regards to your family and hope we can catch up soon and we finish this lockdown period as soon as possible.
Yes, there's 5 questions on the Q&A still. I don't know if I've answered them all, but if you want to translate them, send them to me in message and I'll try and return them back to you. But other than that, thank you very much for the opportunity, and it's great to hear from you. And I hope you all stay safe and your families are safe. And thank you very much for your time.
Aquí agradece, estaba pensando que había unas preguntas más. The Q&A are finished, all that some kind of comments, but everything is okay. Y agradece el tiempo y que todos estén saludables. Adam, thanks a lot. Let's try to catch up soon and let's have a virtual coffee, okay? Bye, thanks. See you.
Excellent. Thank you. See you, Alejandro. Bye-bye.
Bye, chao. Chao, gente. Muchas gracias a todos y esperemos vernos pronto y gracias por el tiempo y la paciencia de la traducción. Chau, chau.